ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
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 ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय.
So we are continuing with Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter number 11, the universal form, text number 32. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Kalo Asmi Lokaksha Krita Pravriddho Lokan Samahartam Iha Pravrataha Rite Api Tvam Na Bhavishyanti Sarve Ye Avastitaha Pratinikeshu Yodhaha. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, Time I am, the great destroyer of the worlds, and I have come here to destroy all people. With the exception of you, the Pandavas, all the soldiers here on both sides will be slain. You want to read the purport?
Although Arjuna knew that Krishna was his friend and the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he was puzzled by the various forms exhibited by Krishna. Therefore, he asked further about the actual mission of this devastating force. It is written in the Vedas that supreme truth destroys everything, even the Brahmanas. As stated in the Katha Upanishad, Yasya Brahmana ka Satram ka Ube Bhavata Odana Mrityur Yaso Pase Kanam Ka Itha Veda Yatra. Eventually, all the Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, and everyone else are devoured like a meal by the Supreme. This form of the Supreme Lord is the all-devouring giant, and here Krishna presents himself in that form of all-devouring time. Except for few Pandavas, everyone who was present on that battlefield would be devoured by him. Arjuna was not in favor of the fight, and he thought it was better not to fight. Then there would be no frustration. In reply, the Lord is saying that even if he did not fight, every one of them would be destroyed, for that was his plan. If Arjuna stopped fighting, they would die in another way. That could not be checked even if he did not fight. In fact, they were already dead. Time is destruction, and all manifestations are to be vanquished by the desire of the Supreme Lord. That is the law of nature.
Om Agyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmanitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So before I start today's lecture, I wanted you all to know that today starts the Purushottam month, which comes once in 3 years. And this month is very dear to Krishna. And any devotional service performed in this month, one gets a lot of benefit, just like in the month of Damodar or Kartik, which comes October, November. If one say chants one round, gets a benefit of almost 1,000 rounds. So this month, starting from today, is very auspicious month where one should endeavor to start chanting if they are not, and if they are chanting, they should increase their rounds. So in other words, take a vow that at least for this 1 month, I will chant X number of rounds and follow it. There are other things also that one can do is read Bhagavad Gita every day or read the Bhagavatam every day, and so there are different things that one can do in devotional service. And this month is very, very special for 1 month starting from today. So coming to today's chapter, we are continuing with the universal form, and here Krishna is making it very, very clear. First of all, it says Bhagavan Uvacha, which means the Supreme Lord said. It's not an ordinary person. And second thing he says that time I am the great destroyer of the worlds, and I've come here to destroy all people. So he's telling Arjuna that whether you fight or you don't fight, everyone here present in Kurukshetra is going to die except the Pandavas. And in the purport, Srila Prabhupada very nicely explains that all the plans are made by Krishna, right? We think that we are the doers and we are planning. Some make 5-year plan, 10-year plan, but no, everything works according to Krishna's plan. And here he is motivating Arjuna to fight, because Arjuna is lamenting, I don't want to fight, you know, all my relatives are there, how can I kill them? But here Krishna is saying, whether you fight or you don't fight, these people are going to die anyway. Death is sure for them. And he's just telling Arjuna to fight so that he gets the credit of winning the war. You understand? Krishna has already killed everyone. If you remember last week, we heard how everyone was going into the mouth of the universal form. Karna, Bhishma, Drona, everyone, and getting squashed in the teeth of the universal form. So Krishna is telling Arjuna that everyone is going to die for sure. Why not fight this and take the credit, right? Everyone will think Arjuna won the war. Of course, why? Because Krishna was on his side. So it's important to understand from this verse that Krishna is the controller. We need to understand that, and we can understand that only when we understand the Bhagavad Gita with the help of a spiritual master. Now, what is the purpose of Krishna coming here? He came here, like if you remember, we heard Paritranaya Sadhuna Vinashaya Dushkritam. So he's come to annihilate the miscreants and to protect the devotees. That is his purpose of coming. He wants to destroy all those miscreants. And in this verse, we can see that victory for Arjuna is assured, right? Supposing, we go to school or college, and it's an examination time, especially in India. We have those final exams, midterm exams, etc. So just before we start the exam, the teacher says, you're getting A plus, right? How would you feel? Like, wow, I haven't even started writing the paper and I'm being told that you are going to get A grade. So here Arjuna is being motivated by Krishna, and seeing Krishna's universal form, Arjuna is actually puzzled, and he asked Krishna, what is your mission? What is the mission of you showing me this universal form? And Krishna, he presented himself, in the form of, as this verse says, all devouring time. That means time is also Krishna. It is under Krishna's control. If supposing I have millions of dollars and I want to use those millions of dollars to move the clock back to 6 p.m. today, will that happen? It's not going to happen, no matter what, right? Why? Because it is under control of Krishna. So Krishna is saying, time I am. So here Arjuna, he did not want to fight. He was, he said, oh, if I fight, then I will be sad and family is going to be sad. So there was so much frustration there. But this verse is very, very important, where it says death is for sure. I was listening to Prabhupada's lecture this morning. When I worship my deities, I listened to his lecture, and he was saying that people think that I'm going to live for millions of years. Even though scriptures say in Kali Yuga, average age is about 100 years, right? It depends where you are, what is your lifestyle, what you eat, how you live your life. Based on that, you have a lifespan. But people think I'm never going to die. And even if I'm going to die, it's going to be after millions of years. But that is not the truth. So here, Arjuna is being told by Krishna that everyone is going to die anyway. So your stopping the fighting is not going to work, because it is already decided by me. Next verse, Krishna says, therefore get up, prepare to fight and win glory. Conquer your enemies and enjoy a flourishing kingdom. They are already put to death by my arrangement, and you, O Savyasachi, can be but an instrument in the fight. How very merciful of Krishna. Krishna is going to kill them, but he wants to make Arjuna the instrument so that Arjuna can get the credit. This is how much Krishna loves his devotees, that he wants to give them everything. Now, in this verse, Krishna is addressing Arjuna as Savyasachi, right? Savyasachi means someone who's very expert at shooting arrows. So he's reminding Arjuna, you're an expert. So just get up and fight. You don't have to worry, right? So supposing I'm in the battlefield and I don't know how to shoot arrows, I should be afraid because death is sure for me. But here Arjuna is an expert. So Krishna is reminding him, you are Savyasachi. So just fulfill my plan. My plan is all miscreants have to die and you just become my instrument, and of course then victory is for sure. In fact, Prabhupada says wherever there is Krishna there is victory. If you remember, Duryodhana, he chose Krishna's army, but Arjuna, he chose Krishna. Why? He knew wherever there is Krishna there is going to be victory. So it's important to understand Krishna's plan. Now, the battle of Kurukshetra also was Krishna's plan. According to Srila Prabhupada in the purpose, he says that Arjuna should fulfill Krishna's desire. Only then Arjuna will be happy. Now, it is, the scriptures say that for Kshatriyas, when they fight in the war, if they die, they go to the heavenly planets. And if they win, they enjoy the opulence of the kingdom, right? So both ways it's win-win situation, right? Even if they lose the battle, they die, they go to the heavenly planets. So this is what Krishna is trying to teach Arjuna. Next verse. Drona, Bhishma, Jayadratha, Karna, and the other great warriors have already been destroyed by me. Therefore, kill them and do not be disturbed. Simply fight and you will vanquish your enemies in battle. You see, Krishna's plan, right? He has already destroyed, right? So even though he's already destroyed, he's telling Arjuna, now you kill them and you take the credit of winning. So Prabhupada says that if we lead our lives in a Krishna conscious way under the guidance of a bona fide devotee, bona fide spiritual master, then Krishna gives his mercy and the person becomes victorious in this human form of life, which means one breaks the cycle of birth and death and goes back to the spiritual world. So victory is assured. Next verse. Sanjaya said to Dhritarashtra, O king, after hearing these words from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the trembling Arjuna offered obeisances with folded hands again and again. He fearfully spoke to Lord Krishna in a faltering voice as follows. So as soon as Arjuna saw that universal form, with all that fire, so many mouths, unlimited heads, unlimited arms and legs and everything, and everyone rushing into the universal form's mouth and everything. So he was bewildered, because he had never seen such a form ever before. So he started offering obeisances because he was afraid, right? What was he afraid of? He was afraid that, oh, this is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and I have been treating him like an ordinary friend, right? What do you do with the friends? You hit on the shoulder, or you lay on the lap of the friend, or joke or whatever, and eat together in the same plate or next. You do so many things. You take it so casually. But now he's afraid because he thinks he has committed so many offenses, right? Thinking that, oh, this is just my friend. But now he says, oh, this is God. So he is like, now he's offering obeisances, like asking for pardon. Please, please pardon me for all that I have done. So he spoke in faltering voice. What does he say? Arjuna said, O master of the senses, the world becomes joyful upon hearing your name, and thus everyone becomes attached to you. Although the perfected beings offer you their respectful homage, the demons are afraid and they flee here and there. All this is rightly done. So we can see now Arjuna seems to be enlightened. After hearing all these chapters, he seems to be enlightened by Krishna's words. And after hearing the outcome of the battle, right, that okay, I'm going to win, everyone else is going to die except the Pandavas, he understands that Krishna is in control and he is the maintainer. And not only that, he protects his devotees and he destroys the enemies. So it seems in the purport, Prabhupada mentions that when this was going on, the demigods, when the universal form was shown, the demigods were also watching. And the demons also were watching, but they couldn't stand the universal form and they could not stand to see Krishna. And that's what, not just stand to see Krishna, but they couldn't stand to see Krishna being praised by Arjuna. Demons, they are envious by nature. So what happened? Out of fear, they fled. But devotees, whatever Krishna does, they know it is for their good. So Arjuna is now gradually understanding his position and the position of the Supreme Lord. Number 37. O great one, greater even than Brahma, you are the original creator. Why then should they not offer their respectful obeisance unto you? O limitless one, God of gods, refuge of the universe, you are the invincible source, the cause of all causes, transcendental to this material manifestation. What a beautiful prayer Arjuna has for Krishna. He's praising Krishna. He's not only praising Krishna, but making us understand with this verse that Krishna is the Supreme Lord. He's saying, you are greater than even Brahma, right? He's making it very clear. You're the original creator. Normally, especially in India, people think Brahma is the creator, Vishnu is the maintainer, and Shiva is the destroyer, right? But the original creator is Krishna because he is the one who created Brahma. And then he gave the power to Brahma to create. So Brahma is the secondary creator, but the original creator is Lord Shri Krishna. So Arjuna is making us understand who is Krishna, how to worship him, offer obeisances, and to understand that he's the cause of all causes, right? He's the soul of all of us. He's pervading everywhere. He's all pervading. And in fact, in this verse, he's addressing Krishna as Mahatman. Mahatma. Mahatma means a great personality, most magnanimous, like someone who has unlimited opulences in this connection as far as Krishna is concerned. In fact, in this verse, we also see Ananta Devesha, right? Ananta means everything covered by the influence and energy of Krishna. That's why he's called Ananta. And Devesha means he's a controller of the demigods. Deva, right? Devas and Asuras. So Devesha, controller of demigods. So Krishna is to be offered obeisances. Why? Because no one is greater than Krishna. Here he's talking about greater than even Brahma. Now in Srimad Bhagavatam, it is explained that Lord Brahma is born out of the navel of Garbhodakshai Vishnu, right? So he is, Brahma's father is Lord Vishnu, and Shiva is born out of Brahma. See? So this is how the Srimad Bhagavatam explains. So he's trying to explain to us that Krishna is greater than even all the demigods. Number 38. You are the original personality of Godhead, the oldest, the ultimate sanctuary of this manifested cosmic world. You are the knower of everything, and you are all that is knowable. You are the supreme refuge above the material modes, O limitless form. This whole cosmic manifestation is pervaded by you. He's again continuing to explain to us, Krishna, You are the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In fact, in chapter 15, we will see verse 15, where Krishna says, Vedescha sarver aham eva vedayo vedanta prit vedavid eva chaham. What does that mean? It means Krishna says that I am the compiler of Vedas and I am to be known from the Vedas. So what is the purpose of understanding Bhagavad Gita? To understand that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead and Bhagavad Gita is given to us by Krishna himself. So here Arjuna is continuing to praise Krishna and to say that you are the oldest and you are the knower of everything, you are all that is knowable. And he says the whole cosmic manifestation is pervaded by you. We have already come across the verse Mataha Parataram Natya Anyat Kinchit Asti Dhananjaya. Just like a pearls are strung on a thread, right? How are the pearls? Supposing you want to gift your wife a pearl necklace, you cannot just grab a bunch of pearls and give in hand and say wear it. No, it has to be strung on a thread. And so what is holding the pearls together? The thread. So Krishna says, I am that thread on which everything is dependent. Mataha Parataram Nanyat Kinchid Asti Dhananjaya. So he is the knower of everything and he is worshipable by all. He is the original Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because here Arjuna says, you are the original personality of Godhead. Next verse. You are air and you are the supreme controller. You are fire, you are water, and you are the moon. You are Brahma, the first living creature, and you are the great grandfather. I therefore offer my respectful obeisances unto you 1,000 times and again and yet again. In the purport, Prabhupada says, the Lord is addressed here as air, because the air is the most important representation of all the demigods, being all pervasive. Arjuna also addresses Krishna as the great grandfather because he's the father of Brahma, the first living creature in the universe. So why air is important? We can live without food. We can live without water for a long time, right? Can we live without air? Right? Just stop breathing. You cannot do that after a few seconds. You got to have the air. So Krishna is that air. Prabhupada very nicely explains in his lectures that everything that we do every day is by the mercy of the Lord, right? He's the one who's given us sunshine, the air, what else? The water, the grains, everything is provided to us by the Supreme Lord. Are we paying taxes for that? Are we paying taxes for the air we breathe every day, every moment? No. We have to pay the tax. Imagine if we haven't paid, that means it's way past overdue and the collections is going to call us anytime to recover all the cost of all the taxes that we haven't paid for breathing. For me, breathing for 62 years. Can you imagine how much tax I have to pay? That is why Prabhupada has given us a simple formula to pay our taxes on a daily basis so it doesn't accumulate. What do you think it is? Chanting, exactly. When we chant, we are indirectly paying off our taxes to the Supreme Lord. Number 40. Obeisances to you from the front, from behind, and from all sides. O unbounded power, you're the master of limitless might. You are all pervading, and thus you are everything. So here, Arjuna is paying obeisances from all directions, in all different ways, out of love. It's not that he thinks that, it's not that Krishna is standing there with a stick and saying, you offer obeisance, otherwise, patak, 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 I'm going to hit you. No, he's doing it out of love. Why? Because he has understood this is my master. This is the supreme master, the master of all. Next verse. Thinking of you as my friend, I have rashly addressed you, O Krishna, O Yadava, O my friend, not knowing your glories. Please forgive whatever I may have done in madness or in love. I have dishonored you many times, jesting as we relaxed, lay on the same bed, or sat or ate together, sometimes alone and sometimes in front of many friends. O infallible one, please excuse me for all those offenses. Now, do you think Krishna would have taken an offense to all this? No, because he knew that Arjuna considered him as a best friend, right? With friends, you do that. Now that Arjuna has understood, no, this is not just my friend, he is the Supreme Lord. So now he is following the etiquette that is required. So he's asking for forgiveness. Now, Krishna in the universal form, so Arjuna, when he saw that, he remembers the friendly relationship with Krishna, all that he has done. So that's why he's asking for forgiveness. What? Because of the informal gestures, dishonored him. Because sometimes, especially the little ones, friends, they would just hit like that and go and, just joking or whatever. But you don't do that with the Lord, right? The relationship is different. So here, he is a little bit concerned because of that friendship that he had before. That's why he's addressing him, oh, my friend, to remind him we are friends, we are still friends, even though you are the Supreme Lord, right? So Arjuna previously, of course, he didn't know he's God, but now he knows that Krishna is God. And Krishna is so kind, even though Arjuna did not understand, he still played with him like a friend, right? He was so kind because of loving reciprocation. Number 43. You are the father of this complete cosmic manifestation of the moving and the non-moving. You are its worshipable chief, the supreme spiritual master. No one is equal to you, nor can anyone be one with you. How then could there be anyone greater than you within the three worlds, O Lord of immeasurable power? Right? Again, why is he again trying to tell us Krishna is the Supreme Lord? So that we can understand his supremacy. In school, the teacher repeats something again and again if it is important. Why? Because then the student will be able to grasp it. So to make us understand that Krishna is the Supreme Lord, he's also addressing him that you are the supreme spiritual master. Prabhupada explains that Krishna, within the heart, he is our supreme spiritual master as Paramatma, as the super soul. And without, he is the bona fide spiritual master coming down in the disciplic succession. And here he is addressing Krishna as supreme spiritual master because Krishna, he gave this knowledge to Brahma. Right? Remember, he spoke to Brahma, and this is how it is coming down in the disciplic succession. So, in fact, in the purport, Prabhupada explains that not everybody can understand Krishna, that he is God. Avajananti ma mudha. Previously, even Krishna said that foolish people, they do not understand when I come in the human form. They think I'm just an ordinary human being, but that's not so. So he is transcendental. There is a beautiful prayer we say in the morning that is called the Shringar Arti, where it is mentioned that Krishna can use any of his senses for anything. For instance, he can eat with his eyes. We cannot do that, but he can eat with his eyes, he can eat with his ears. So his senses are interchangeable. Why? Because he is a Supreme Lord. In fact, if you remember, we had covered a verse called Janma Karma Chame Divyam Evam Yuveti Tatvata Tyaktva Deham Punarjanma Neti Mameti. So Arjuna, Krishna tells Arjuna that if only one can understand the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities, that person, after giving up this body, will not come back into this material world again. That is like a formula to go back to Godhead. It's a process, right? So it's very difficult to really understand not only Krishna's transcendental appearance, but his activities. So here we can see Krishna says that mood has foolish people cannot understand me. Number 44. You are the supreme Lord to be worshipped by every living being. Thus I fall down to offer you my respectful obeisances and ask your mercy. As a father tolerates the impudence of his son, a friend the impertinence of a friend, or a husband the familiarity of his wife, please tolerate the wrongs I may have done. You see? In fact, Arjuna, he was in a relationship with Krishna, and that relationship was that of a friend, right? There are different rasas, 5 rasas, principal rasas, and one of them is Sakhya ras, which is that of a friend. So, because he was in that relationship, so he behaved like a friend. But now he is requesting Krishna to please tolerate all that I did. Now that I know that you are the Supreme Lord, so you please tolerate it. After seeing this universal form, which I have never seen before, I am gladdened. But at the same time, my mind is disturbed with fear. Therefore, please bestow your grace upon me and reveal again your form as the personality of Godhead, O Lord of Lords, O abode of the universe. So, Arjuna, being such a great devotee of the Lord, if his mind can get disturbed, what about us? Our mind can get super disturbed, like extremely disturbed. So here he is making it, letting Krishna know, even though Krishna knows everything because he's in the heart of Arjuna, but he wants to tell Krishna that my mind is now disturbed and now you please be merciful to me. And Arjuna is gladdened. He's glad. What is he glad about? That my friend is the Supreme Lord. That is what he's glad about. And he's also glad that Krishna showed him the universal form, right? Even though he did not need to know, but for our benefit, he requested him. So now he is expecting Krishna to show the Vishnu form, the 4-handed form, right? The same form that is present in Vaikuntha planets, in the spiritual planets, right? So that itself, so now Krishna was standing in the battlefield and he showed the universal form, and then he shows the Vishnu form, and then he comes back to the Krishna form. What does that indicate? Yes, it indicates that everything comes from Krishna. Even the Vishnu form comes from Krishna. Universal form comes from Krishna. So he is the source of everything. He's the source of expansions, incarnations, material creation. Everything comes from Krishna. Especially in India, people believe Krishna comes from Vishnu. Have you heard that? I've heard that before. But the scriptures say no. And we also have the proof, the practical proof, where Krishna showed the universal form, and then he showed the Vishnu form, and then he went back to his original Shyam Sundar Krishna form. Next verse. O universal form, O 1,000-armed Lord, I wish to see you in your 4-armed form with helmeted head and with club, wheel, conch, and lotus flower in your hands. I long to see you in that form. Why is Arjuna wanting to see Vishnu form? He should be happy with the 2-handed Krishna form, right? It is for our benefit to show us that Krishna can do this. Krishna can change from his original form to universal form, to Vishnu form, and back to his original forms. And Krishna has many forms, and out of which Rama, Narasimha, also Narayana, these are some of the forms that come from Krishna. And Arjuna knew that this universal form that I'm seeing right now is temporary. It's not permanent. And Prabhupada mentions that devotees are not interested in seeing the universal form. They are only interested in seeing the Shyam Sundar form. But because Arjuna requested, Krishna shows. What does Krishna say? The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "My dear Arjuna, Happily have I shown you by my internal potency the supreme universal form within the material world. No one before you has ever seen this primal form, unlimited and full of glaring effulgence. So, Arjuna is the first person to see the universal form. He has never shown this before. He showed this form to Arjuna to satisfy him. Even though Arjuna was asking on our behalf so that we could learn about universal form, but he manifested it from his internal potency just to satisfy Arjuna. You see, this form is inconceivable if we speculate. Oh, I think there were so many heads, and I think there were so many arms, and no. If we speculate, we cannot. It's inconceivable. In fact, one cannot understand Krishna without the mercy of Krishna. But because of Arjuna, even the demigods were able to see this universal form. So how fortunate are the demigods? Number 48. O best of the Kuru warriors, no one before you has ever seen this universal form of mine, for neither by studying the Vedas, nor by performing sacrifices, nor by charity, nor by pious activities, nor by severe penances can I be seen in this form in the material world. Right? Nothing of this. So one may think, that I will become a jnani, do jnana yoga, get a lot of knowledge, memorize the verses and read all the scriptures. And then, no, that it's not possible to even understand Krishna just by that. So not by Vedas, not by sacrifices, charity, piety, severe penances. No, it is not possible to see the universal form. Why? Because to see the universal form, one need divine vision, right? Just like Vyasadeva gave the divine vision to Sanjaya so that he could sit in the palace and still be able to see the battlefield of Kurukshetra, what's going on. Similarly, Krishna gave the divine eyes to Arjuna to see the universal form. If you remember last week, one of the verses, Krishna told Arjuna, you cannot see me with your present eyes. I have to give you divine vision. And that's how he gave him. So divine vision is given only to devotees, to godly people. And how does one become divine? By following the process of Bhagavad Gita, by becoming Krishna conscious, by becoming a pure devotee of the Supreme Lord. That is how one will be able to. It is said in Brahma Samhita, Premanchana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena Santa Sadeva Hridayeshu Vilokayanti Yam Shama Sundaram Achinta Gunaswarupam Govindam Adi Purusham Tam Aham Bhajami. Until and unless one has anointed the eyes with love, kajal, the ladies, they put kajal in the eyes, right? And until and unless that kajal of love is there in the eyes, one cannot see the Supreme Lord. It has to be anointed with pure love of God. Then only it is possible. So here, universal form, of course, as I said, devotees are not interested, but this universal form is just to show who is God. Say, supposing tomorrow someone walks up to you and say, I am God. You say, okay, show us your universal form. If you're able to show us your universal form, then we say, aha, you are God. Otherwise, we are not going to believe that. So this is the reason why Arjuna wanted Krishna to show the universal form. Verse number 49. You have been perturbed and bewildered by seeing this horrible feature of mine. Now let it be finished. My devotee, be free again from all disturbances. With a peaceful mind, you can now see the form you desire. See? So what is the form now Arjuna wants to see? Vishnu form, and then he wants to see the original form, the Shyam Sundar form. So that also shows us that Krishna is the cause of all causes, right? He is everything. And in fact, when Krishna appeared 5,000 years ago, he appeared in the Vishnu form, right? In front of Devaki and Vasudev in the prison house, he appeared as Vishnu form. Then the parents had to, pray to him and say, no, please, you become an ordinary child, because Kamsa will come and he will immediately know that you are God. So you please change yourself into an ordinary child. So even at birth, he showed, I am God. And he came in that Vishnu form. Number 15. Sanjaya said to Dhritarashtra, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, having spoken thus to Arjuna, displayed his real four-armed form and at last showed his two-armed form, thus encouraging the fearful Arjuna. A proof.
So Sanjay able to see?
Yes, because he had divine vision. So, yes, towards the end of this lecture, I'll tell you all the people who saw this universal form. Yes. Yes, yes. See, why was Sanjaya so fortunate? It's not just that he got the divine vision. He was more fortunate because he got Vyasadeva as the guru, as the spiritual master, right? Bona fide spiritual master. And who is Vyasadeva? He is the incarnation of Krishna. See? So he was very fortunate. He had such a bona fide spiritual master, and then he got the divine vision to see everything that happened on the battlefield. He heard the whole Bhagavad Gita. And he's relating it to Dhritarashtra, who is blind. And after hearing also, Dhritarashtra is still blind, right? Spiritually also he's blind. Why? Because he's still hoping that maybe my sons are going to win the battle. Even though at heart he knew that all his children, all his sons were irreligious. They were on the wrong side, right? Number 51. When Arjuna thus saw Krishna in his original form, he said, "Oh Janardana, seeing this human-like form, so very beautiful, I am now composed in mind and I am restored to my original nature." So here we can understand that two-handed form is the original form of Krishna. He may appear in different forms, but this is his original form. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "My dear Arjuna, this form of mine you are now seeing is very difficult to behold. Even the demigods are ever seeking the opportunity to see this form, which is so dear." You see, universal form, very difficult to see, but it is more difficult to see two-handed form. Shyam Sundar form is more difficult. Even demigods, they find it difficult. If you remember, when Krishna was about to appear, when Krishna was in the womb of Devaki in the prison house, the demigods had come to the prison house and they prayed. They wanted to see Krishna. So they were praying and they were consoling Devaki, telling her not to worry, you know, God is within you and he is about to appear. So they came there just to pray. They wanted to see. So, of course, there are many people who speculate, you know, about Krishna. They say, I think, in my opinion, Krishna is just a mythological figure or a great personality. You know, so many speculations are there. In fact, there are so many editions of Bhagavad Gita which have all different concoctions. There are different opinions of people, what they think or what they have realized, but not coming down in strict disciplic succession. If it's not coming down in parampara, like Krishna says in chapter 4, evam parampara praptam, if that is not happening, then it is not perfect knowledge, right? Prabhupada has explained in the introduction also that we human beings, we have 4 defects. We are defective pieces, right? So how can we on our own give perfect knowledge? No, perfect knowledge has to come from the perfect source. That's why Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita is as it is. There's no change at all. So there's no point in speculation, because speculation will take us nowhere. And Krishna, he is covered by his Yoga Maya potency. It's not easy to understand, right? Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschid yatati siddhai. Out of thousands, hardly one will try for perfection. And out of thousands who have achieved perfection, Krishna says, hardly one knows me in truth. So it's very, very difficult to understand. Number 53. The form you are seeing with your transcendental eyes cannot be understood simply by studying the Vedas, nor by undergoing serious penances, nor by charity, nor by worship. It is not by these means that one can see me as I am. So, what is the way to understand? Just with devotional service. So, academic qualifications cannot help us to understand Krishna at all. It has to be only devotional service. And that's what Krishna tells in the next verse. He says, my dear Arjuna, only by undivided devotional service can I be understood as I am standing before you and can thus be seen directly. Only in this way can you enter into the mysteries of my understanding. So that ends all speculation, right? Some may say, oh, I can go to the temple and break a coconut and I'll understand Krishna. Or let me, fast for X number of days. Or let me go on the mountains and, do some austerities. No, that is not the way. He says only by undivided devotional service. Undivided means that there should be no it should be unalloyed, no mixture in that, no jnana karma, nothing, right? Anya vilashita shunya jnana karma anamritam, that there should be nothing mixed in devotional service. It has to be pure devotional service. And Prahlad Maharaj has given us 9 processes of devotional service, and we can follow any one of them, right? Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Padasevanam. So like that, there are 9 processes of devotional service. Krishna says only then one can enter into the mysteries of my understanding. So speculation is actually a waste of time. So Prabhupada mentions in the purport that to understand Krishna, first of all, we have to follow regulative principles. Just like when the child is enrolled in the school, first thing child has to follow is the rules of the school, right? The rules, whatever the regulations are, you have to arrive by 8 a.m., the classes end at 3 p.m., or whatever the rules, you have to be properly dressed, there has to be proper, behavior. There's so many rules, right? In fact, today, in fact, I was reading the email from my grandson's school, which said you must read what is that book? Handbook, right? School handbook, which lists everything, how the children have to dress, how they have to behave, what language they have to use. So these are rules and regulations that the student needs to follow. Similarly, Prabhupada says to understand Krishna, we need to follow the regulative principles. And what are the regulative principles? There are 4 regulative principles: no meat eating, fish, eggs, onion, garlic; no intoxication, tea, coffee; no illicit sex; and no gambling. These are the 4 regulative principles that one must start following. And then when one's faith becomes unflinching, which means no one can shake that faith. And how can one get to that point? Only by associating with saintly personalities, because the association rubs off on us. If we associate with those who are interested in Bhagavad Gita, we will be interested in Bhagavad Gita. If we associate with those who like to, drink or, gamble or whatever, then we'll have that desire to do it. Depends on the association. So personal training is very, very important. We go to verse number 55, which is the last verse of this chapter. My dear Arjuna, he who engages in my pure devotional service, free from the contaminations of fruitive activities and mental speculation, he who works for me, who makes me the supreme goal of his life, and who is friendly to every living being, he certainly comes to me. So this is a formula how to go back to Godhead, right? That's a process. And it starts with chanting. And he's also saying one who is friendly. What does he mean by one who's friendly to every living being? Does that mean that when we walk out on the street, we, shake hands with everyone, say, hi, how are you? Is that what he's talking about? Be friendly? No. Yes, which means we should try and give this knowledge to others, right? If we give this knowledge of Bhagavad Gita to others, that is being a real friend. Why? Because we are saving them from the miseries of this material world. So this verse, this last verse of 11th chapter, is a formula to show us how to go back to Godhead. In fact, Prabhupada mentions in the purport that this verse is the essence of Bhagavad Gita. How very powerful, right? It's the essence. Why? Because people are suffering in this material world, and this Bhagavad Gita helps one to end the suffering. It shows us how we can build our relationship with the Supreme Lord and how we can qualify ourselves and go back to Godhead. What are the things he requires? He says, engage in pure devotional service, free from contamination of fruitive activities, mental speculation, work for me, make me the supreme goal, and be friendly to every living being. You see? So then we will be able to enter into Goloka Vrindavan, which is higher than even the heavenly planets. It's even above the Vaikuntha planets. It's the topmost Vaikuntha planet, which is Goloka Vrindavan. So here when he's talking about free from contaminations of fruitive activities, which means he's talking about doing akarma. Right? We already learned in chapter 3 and 5 what is akarma. Akarma is where we perform our activities according to the Bhagavad Gita, according to the scriptures, without desiring to enjoy the fruits of our activities and use our resources for service of the Supreme Lord. And simultaneously, we should also avoid the association of those who are not interested in spirituality. So Krishna wants unalloyed devotional service. Based on this verse number 55, he says unalloyed means no karma, no jnana, nothing mixed in it. In fact, he says, Manmana bhavmad bhakto madhyaji mam namasku. Just think of me. How is that possible? How can we think of Krishna? By chanting. When we chant, then automatically we remember and think of him. In fact, Kamsa, right? He was the greatest enemy of Krishna, but he thought of Krishna all the time, even though unfavorably, right? But he thought of him all the time. That's why he got liberation. But Prabhupada suggests that we should not think of think of Krishna in that unfavorable way, but it should be in a favorable way. So this is where this chapter ends. But as I mentioned, I'm going to tell you who all saw the universal form. So actually, Krishna showed the universal form to even his mother twice. Twice he showed Yashoda. One was when he was yawning, another time when he ate the mud, right? And mother said, open your mouth, and she saw the whole creation.
I thought about it, but because he mentions that Arjuna, the first one to see, I thought that maybe he only showed the universe and not him with the universal form. Because here he is mentioning that Arjuna, you're the first one to see.
Yes, that's true. Yes. So then it says that he showed partial form to Bhishma, Drona, Karna, Vidura, Sanjaya, sages, and Duryodhana when he went to meet Duryodhana to make peace before the battlefield of Kurukshetra.
Yeah.
He tried to show Duryodhan, look, I am the Lord, he stopped, don't start the fight or whatever, but he still was not interested. So before the war, and Dhritarashtra was given sight for a few minutes to watch the universal form. This is what is mentioned. Yes. I heard this in one of the lectures, huh?
First time, before even the war started.
Yes, before the war started. And at Kurukshetra, he showed to Arjuna, Sanjaya, devotees in the heavenly planets and other planets. So in the battlefield, when Krishna showed the universal form, so Arjuna saw it, Sanjaya saw it, and devotees in the heavenly planets and other planets saw the universal form. So this is how this chapter ends.
One question I have is if Krishna